Hi, I'm Justin Studebaker. I'm the owner of Symphoneo Consulting. Within Working Genius and within Symphoneo's overarching efforts around organizational health, we're here to create an environment where your team is aligned both behaviorally and also strategically. An interesting fact, I'm actually part of the certification founding group that was the initial group to go through the Working Genius. Working Genius came about in a situation where I had a similar issue that Patrick Lencioni did. I was feeling burnt out and frustrated just as he was in the work he was doing. The difference is that he loved the people that he worked with. He loved the companies he worked with, companies like Southwest, Chick-fil-A, Nordstrom. Working Genius came about because of this issue of Patrick Lencioni feeling burnt out and frustrated and not knowing why. And he opened the door to all of us understanding why we feel frustrated, why we feel burnt out, why we're not satisfied in the work we do. And it created a great opportunity to increase for him and for myself fulfillment, energy, satisfaction, even joy in the work that we do. And we're seeing it throughout the world. Over 1 million people have taken the Working Genius assessment in less than 4 years. And we're so excited that you're joining this movement and you're going to bring this into your company or your nonprofit and change the way that you all work together to create a more dynamic future for your company. Working Genius is a productivity tool, more than it's a personality assessment like a lot of the other assessments that are out there. It's simple and yet profound. It gets to the heart of how we work together as a team, how we assess each person's strengths, their frustrations, the things that they get drained by. It also creates an understanding where we can leverage each other and work together in a way that reduces friction, conflict, misunderstanding, and bias. It's the most dynamic model because of the simplicity of it. Because what we've found is that with behavior change, it takes 21 to 90 days to change any adult's behavior. Even more so if you have a team of people that all have to come together, understand something, align around how to use something, and then bring it into meetings, into interactions, into projects. Within the Working Genius model, there's 6 types of geniuses. Each of us have different levels of what's called geniuses, competencies, and frustrations. These rank the amount of energy and fulfillment that you receive in the work that you do. There's going to be ones that you have as geniuses, which is where you get energy and fulfillment the most from. There's going to be ones that are competencies, which you get some level of energy. And then there's going to be what's called frustrations. You can probably imagine what frustrations mean, but it's the things that you lose energy from, or it can be seen as maybe a blind spot. Let's take a look at each genius. Wonder is the first step in all workflow. It's also the beginning of relationships. It's taking the time to build trust with people. They have deep curiosity, inquisitiveness, most likely to be a blind spot or overlooked within the workflow because it's subtle, it's nuanced. They ask great questions. They're always responding to the environment around them, noticing problems or opportunities that are available to solve. This creates the opportunity for companies to be having continuous improvement within their workflow because the wonder people are so focused on that. They desire to always look at new and better ways to do things. Many times they'll be seen as dreamers, idealistic, kind of head in the clouds. But the beauty of it is that they draw everybody else in to answer and solve the right problems because they identify and define the right problems to solve. Wonder is the key to innovation because it gets people to stop, to slow down, to pay attention and to have a question answered that maybe other people would miss because they're so focused on deadlines, tasks, and projects. Without wonder, which is the most undervalued and misunderstood of the geniuses, innovation suffers. Overall, company performance suffers. Don't lose sight of that. Activate the wonder on your team. Invention is the first of what we call the disruptive geniuses. It's the second half of the ideation stage of work, which you'll learn more. It's very outside the box thinking. They love their freedom in creating their own way we call them usually visionaries because they like to run with their own ideas. They're disruptive because they're disrupting the status quo. They do not like to just follow the crowd because they know that they can come up with really cool and dynamic ideas. They generally will lead from the perspective of, I've got this idea, let's run with it. They also love a blank whiteboard. They love to come up with ideas from scratch. They're going to be the most dynamic within brainstorming because they are the ones just can't stop coming up with new ideas. So if you love the freedom of your own ideas to be created, if you love a blank whiteboard, if you love to be able to come up with things from scratch, and you like to be included in brainstorming sessions, you probably have a decent amount of invention. It's a very dynamic and needed of the geniuses. It's also one that is generally valued highly. So you need to value the wonder and the discernment around you because they will make the invention stronger. Discernment is the second of these responsive geniuses. It's one that's actually generally overlooked as well, similar to wonder. And that's because it's nuanced, it's subtle. You're noticing and assessing ideas, problems, solutions, generally that someone like the inventor comes up with. It is amazing to have discernment around you when you're strategizing, when you're evaluating problems. Discernment is an intuitive gut instinct. It's judgment that doesn't necessarily strictly come from research or data, but it's just their way of synthesizing information in a really dynamic, but again, subtle way. You need to make sure that during that first part of activation, that when you come up with ideas, that this discernment is brought on into the meeting because they will make and evaluate and strengthen all of your ideas, all of your strategies, all of your hiring decisions. Everything that's a decision needs to run through discernment. Because when you get the clarity that comes from the discernment's intuitive, evaluative abilities, it allows for the next step, the galvanizer, to run with that strategy, to run with that idea, to run with that solution, and start to create momentum. Galvanizing is the phase of work that energizes and mobilizes action. It's the first of the action-oriented geniuses. You've got discernment, which is more internal. It's decisive decision-making that creates the environment for the galvanizer to run with whatever has been decided on, to create mobilized employees, to communicate in a really passionate, inspired way. Galvanizing is what I am. It's someone who's very excitable. They love being in front of an audience. They love facilitating meetings. If you're working for a nonprofit, put the galvanizer in charge of recruitment and fund development because they love getting out there and creating momentum. Without the galvanizers, what you'll find is there could be an energy and enthusiasm deficit within your company. There could be a lack of momentum around projects. You could be the best kept secret in your industry because of the fact that galvanizer loves nothing more than being around people, getting out there and spreading the word. They're known as evangelizers of whatever idea or product that you have within your company. Galvanizers are disruptive because you might not even think you're going to be joining their team, joining their mission, and yet you can't help but get involved because the energy and the excitement that they have, it is abundant and it's natural. And if you don't have galvanizing, it'll seem like it's very draining of what they're doing. But galvanizers get energy from getting other people excited and moving. Enablement is the last of the responsive geniuses. It's the third responsive genius, the most action-oriented one. It's also, just like the other responsive geniuses, one that often gets overlooked, not acknowledged for the importance of what it does. Enablement is enthusiasm. It's rallying around the galvanizer's call to action and stepping up and saying, I will help because I want to help you be successful. They love responding to the needs of others. You'll notice that on your team, they're the glue of your company. They're the ones most likely to be upset because they're having to work from home because they love being around people. They love team projects. They love team meetings because they love being around people and working together and collaborating. They're the culture builders of your company, and they're the ones who will be stepping up and managing a lot of different projects because they love saying yes to others, to making it possible that projects get moved forward because they're people oriented. Within the implementation stage, they're motivated by people, while the next one, tenacity, is motivated more by tasks and getting projects done. Tenacity is the last of the geniuses and the third disruptive genius. The highest priorities within your company that you're working on at that point, tenacity people will be laser focused on pushing that to the finish line. It's very bottom line and execution oriented. They focus on tasks and projects and priorities, while the enablement before it of implementation focuses on people and relational needs. If you notice you're high on tenacity, you probably have your task sheet and you'll add tasks onto your task sheet just so you can cross them off, because their energy and fulfillment comes from the task and project completion, seeing things get pushed over the finish line compared to relationally responding to the need of somebody else. It is such an important genius because it keeps everybody focused on deadlines, priorities, and creating the systems and structure that leads to high performance. They do not like a lack of clarity or ambiguity or no set plans. So there can be friction with some of the other geniuses, especially ones in ideation stage. But if you don't have tenacity on your team, you're going to notice that projects, tasks, and deadlines don't get met. If you don't have tenacity, you won't get the job done, or you won't get the job done right.